So I have spent over a year in the Metaverse now, which is exactly when I first got my VR headset, the Meta Quest 3, and since then there have been a lot of changes with countless updates and cool new features. So if you're just getting started and willing to make your first steps into the world of virtual reality, then these two headsets are your best bet, even in 2025. In this video, you will see my review of both of these headsets as well as the Metaverse itself, ranging from out-of-this-world experiences to my girl finding me arguing with toddlers in the middle of the night. This will help you choose the right headset for your VR journey, as well as cover everything you need to know about the games, apps and tools, including some tips and tricks to make the most out of this experience. So, without further ado, let's dive in. When it comes to hardware, you have two available options coming from Meta: the top-tier Meta Quest 3, priced at $499, and the more budget-friendly Meta Quest 3S, which is a slightly cut-back version, starting at $299. While the Quest Pro still exists, these two are the most up-to-date and relevant options right now. In terms of design, both headsets look somewhat similar, but you can see that the Meta Quest 3S has that more chunky looking design, making it slightly bigger. And the reason behind this is that the Quest 3S is using those cheaper Frenzel lenses, just like on the Quest 2, while the Quest 3 has a more compact pancake lens system. Despite that, weight of both headsets is nearly identical. On the front, you have the sensor array, which are 3 pill-shaped modules on the Quest 3, while the Quest 3S has a dotted alien-like pattern on both sides. The Quest 3S is missing the center pill, which is the 3D depth sensor used for object depth perception. Instead, it relies on 2 IR illuminators and software processing, which is less accurate. In the inner part of the headset, we can also see the absence of proximity sensor on the Quest 3S, meaning that it won't automatically turn the display on or off when putting on or removing the headset. Also, the IDP adjustment, which is the distance between the lenses, only has 3 levels of manual adjustment here, while the Quest 3 has a scroll on the bottom for more precise adjustments. And same goes for the depth adjustment. You get a separate spacer attachment, while the Quest 3 has a 4-step adjustable clicking mechanism. Other than that, both have the same port layout, but on the Quest 3S there is no headphone jack, so that's something to keep in mind. I personally never used mine with headphones, as the built-in directional speaker experience has been quite good, but external headphones might come in handy for privacy and preventing audio leaks. Now, when looking at the internals, they both feature the same Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2 chipset designed for VR headsets, so you should get roughly around the same game performance on both of them. But what's interesting is that despite the Quest 3S having a chunkier body, it actually has a much smaller battery size when compared to the regular Quest 3. Both of them still feature the same 18-watt charging, which is definitely not very fast for today's standards, but it is just enough to keep the headset powered while providing a sufficient charge. You may often find the battery life to be pretty similar between these headsets because of the lower resolution display on the Quest 3S, which is also one of the key differences in the hardware. While both headsets are capable of up to 120Hz refresh rate, the Quest 3S has a lower per eye resolution when compared to that of the Quest 3, and the Quest 3S actually has only one large single display, while Quest 3 has a separate display for each eye. The single display, paired with the cheaper optics, will result in a smaller field of view. When I first tried it, the difference was pretty noticeable when coming from the Quest 3, and it really felt like a major downgrade, since the picture wasn't as sharp and the cheaper lenses made the edges look quite distorted and blurry, where you would always have to have your eyes looking directly at the center to get the sharpest image. But then the other day, I started my VR session with the Quest 3S instead, and then it actually felt quite decent, with me adapting even further over time as I kept using it daily. And for my girl, having this as her first VR experience, she did not notice any disturbances with the image whatsoever. But clearly, the difference between these headsets is noticeable, and I think it really justifies the price increase. Or decrease, depending on which one you decide to go with. So I would say that the Quest 3S is really a good choice for beginners, just dipping the toes into the VR world. And an important thing to note is that Meta actually discontinued the 128GB version of the Meta Quest 3, which is the one I have, and this creates a larger value gap, as the Quest 3S is available either in 128GB or 256GB version, so the next tier would already be a jump to 512GB on the Meta Quest 3. So either you pick the 3S, going for one of the budget trims, or just go full maxed out for the best available headset with the highest storage tier. Of course, based on your VR needs, 128GB version should also be enough, as it depends on what games you install, because the big graphics heavy titles can take up even 30 gigs or more, and if you like to switch your games around, having a lot of apps installed, or you like to record your gameplay, then higher storage is something to consider, as even regular Android apps nowadays can take up the storage space rather quickly. But even with all these storage tiers, these headsets do bring a really good value for money. But the first-party accessories, well, that's a whole different story, as apparently Meta expects you to pay a whopping $100 for a USB-C cable, and I guess this is a popular OEM strategy nowadays, as other first-party accessories aren't that cheap either. But there is always a choice, however, as you can easily opt for third-party accessories instead, and based on my experience, there are some essentials that I really can't live without, so I would recommend you to get them as well. Like the head strap, for example. The stock one is alright and works well for portability, but it does not provide a comfy fit. And this will become noticeable over time during longer VR sessions. So I'm using an Elite strap from Kiwi Design, which costs only around $30, and this is a really good investment for comfort, as it is highly adjustable and easy to put on. Of course, adding a strap like this does make the headset feel a bit like wearing a helmet, but it is definitely worth it. And you can even go for more expensive strap models featuring a built-in power bank, so you can enjoy those gaming sessions for longer, or just simply attach a power bank on your own. Also, most straps should be cross-compatible with both Quest 3 and Quest 3S, as they do share the same mounting mechanism, with the only difference being the previously mentioned opening for the headphone jack. Now, the other accessory you might want to get is a hand strap case for the controllers, as it is pretty useful for more active games that require rapid movements, like boxing and such, so your controllers are just safely attached to your wrists. The straps I have are from Spigen, but most of them will probably be pretty similar, with some more expensive ones even having added charging grips. And easy charging of the controllers is something you might have to consider, as the controller batteries can drain really quick, especially in standby, if your headset has been sitting in a shelf for a while. This has happened to me many times, where I'm not sure if my unresponsive controllers are dead, updating, or it's just the battery. Like really, I just kept buying giant AA battery packs and wasting them, until I finally got a simple set of 8 rechargeable AA batteries, which ensured that both headsets would always have a spare set of batteries ready, just in case. For charging convenience, there are all-in-one charging docks available as well, for charging both headset and the controllers via special pins, but this won't play well with custom hand strap cases, as they would simply not fit the dock. So we got to know the headsets and the accessories, but now it is time to look at the ecosystem itself. So first of all, let's take a look back at the terminology. VR stands for virtual reality, which is a fully simulated virtual environment. AR stands for augmented reality, where you get an overlay of content on top of the real-world image. MR stands for mixed reality, where virtual objects are integrated into a 3D mapped version of your physical space, enabling you to interact with your surroundings virtually. XR stands for extended reality, which is an umbrella term for all of the above, used to refer to the entire spectrum of real and virtual experiences. So, let's take a look at Meta's version of the Metaverse, or in other words, the Horizon OS, which is an XR operating system based on Android 14. And here it surely has a major advantage over many other VR headsets, as Meta has spent quite a lot of time and money into developing arguably one of the best VR platforms out there. A while ago, Meta made this platform available to other manufacturers as well, allowing them to build their own VR headsets using Horizon OS. This could bring more hardware options and more users into the Horizon VR space, and the VR XR landscape will soon get even more interesting with Google's new dedicated spatial OS called Android XR, but we are still waiting to see it fully in action. So to experience Horizon OS and operate the headset, you will need to create a Meta account, as with Meta, everything evolves around connected experiences, which might not be ideal for all users. But here you can simply create a new standalone account, not connected with your existing Facebook or Instagram profiles, just meant for gaming, which is also what I did. That said, you might run into trouble when accessing certain features of Meta apps, like Instagram, where you will need to add your Instagram account to the Accounts Center. This allows for single sign-on across all of Meta's services, but it can be quite confusing and doesn't always make sense for simple app browsing. Over time, Horizon OS has seen many updates, bringing new features, countless UI changes and optimizations, which include better tracking, environment scanning, and overall image accuracy. And sometimes it seems that we get UI changes nearly every other month. While mostly for the better, things get moved around quite a lot, which can be disorienting. Like even at the time of writing this review, I got another UI update, which completely changes the look, with the new Meta Navigator UI. This streamlines the overall experience and makes accessing settings in games somewhat easier. Only my Meta Quest 3 got this update, probably due to being enrolled in public test channel, as my Meta Quest 3S still has the old UI, but it should gradually roll out to all other headsets over time. In general, Horizon OS is very simple to use if you have dealt with a computer or a tablet before, as many UI elements act in the same nature. You can navigate either with controllers or just by using your hands, with the built-in hand tracking, by using gestures. Now again, this is also a thing that has changed quite a lot over time. Like to press Meta button and open home menu, you would have to pinch your right hand upwards, which would previously be virtually pressed under your palm. And the pinching is also commonly used for selecting something in the menus, so in some cases I found this to be quite annoying when using hands-only mode, as I would often accidentally open the menu. But in general, I rather prefer using the controllers when possible, as typing also works much faster this way. Horizon OS also has its own app store, with lots of different apps and games optimized for VR experience. And there are many great free titles to play once you get your new headset. However, you will quickly start seeing price tags on the more popular VR games. And these price tags aren't that cheap at all. The most advanced ones can even cost around $50. Now, for an average console gamer, this might seem quite normal, but if you consider that at their core, these are still mobile Android games, they can seem rather expensive. While developing games for VR is something totally different, Meta encourages this with a referral program that makes these games more affordable. This involves earning credit by bringing friends into the platform or by referring specific games, overall making these prices feel less painful. If you refer a friend that creates a Meta account and activates a new headset, both of you get around $30 of store credit, and this amount can sometimes be even higher during promotional periods. And you can also create referral links for eligible apps and games. So when a friend buys an app through your link, they get a discount and you get up to $5 of in-store credit. So you can see this being quite appealing for both parties. And in case you plan to get yourself a Quest headset, you can use my referral link down in the description before purchasing a headset or maybe one of the qualifying games. So be sure to check it out and earn both of us some bonuses. And yet another way to save on VR games is by getting a Meta Plus subscription. It works similarly to Game Pass, giving you access to a curated library that changes over time. You get 2 new games to keep each month, along with a rotating catalog of over 24 popular titles. Oh, and talking about Xbox Game Pass, you can actually pair your Xbox controller to your Quest headset to stream your regular games from the Xbox Cloud to the big virtual screen in VR, if that is something you're after, as Microsoft seems to be quite serious about it with their recent launch of a special edition Quest 3S bundle, which is painted black with green accents and comes bundled with an Xbox controller. And I honestly like the color scheme more than the idea itself. And while the store offers a lot of games and apps, sideloading is also possible with this being an Android headset. And sideloading is not to be confused with pirating, as sideloading is a good thing, allowing you to install more games. One such example is SideQuest, which acts as an alternative app store, giving you access to many legacy Quest 2 and Oculus games, as well as apps from other developers. Through sideloading, you can install nearly any available Android app out there. While not all of them will be officially supported or optimized for VR, many will still run just fine. Like I installed VPN and Home Assistant to access my home controls while I'm in my virtual space, so having an Android-based OS can be pretty beneficial, even if it's not the latest version, as you probably won't notice it anyway. So let's finally jump into gaming, as this is really the best part of owning a Meta Quest. My only VR experience I owned before this headset was Google Cardboard with an attached phone with dual tracking. But things are really awesome now, with everything being so smooth and accurate, and the experiences seem very real. In fact, too real sometimes. And sky's the limit on what you can do in the virtual world, as you can even do training and sports like boxing, body combat, yoga, and so on. For example, the experience Les Mills has created is really awesome, as it fully incorporates the controller as well as head tracking for you to punch targets and avoid obstacles, and make you train in most interactive ways using your full body, just to leave you totally exhausted afterwards. And not to get hurt or accidentally hurt your surroundings during these active games, you will initially need to create a safe boundary in your real world. This virtual border will become visible and your virtual environment will slowly fade as you approach it. This can be done automatically by just walking around your room and allowing the headset to scan the environment, including furniture and different obstacles. With many updates, both headsets have become really precise at this, even recognizing furniture, windows, and doorways. The Quest 3, however, will be a bit better at this because of the built-in depth sensor. But a lot of these sports games also work with mixed reality. And games in mixed reality can get really fun. Just don't expect too much detail from the pass-through image, as it will often be dark and grainy, since the cameras aren't really comparable to something like a smartphone or Apple Vision Pro. So make sure to be in a well-lit room for the best experience. By using image pass-through, you can play around with objects in your room by placing virtual things on real-life surfaces. You can do things like build cool racetracks and interact with them real time. And some games will even break your walls to summon a full-blown alien invasion inside your household. Or you can also use this to wind down and explore the stars, or even the whole universe itself. Now, for the best VR gaming experience, I would suggest playing one of the top-tier games, like Batman, Assassin's Creed, or Asgard's Wrath, to experience a full first-person VR immersion in the best way possible. These games will also demonstrate what this headset is truly capable of, with some decent on-device computing. And these titles are mostly single-player, which also gives the possibility to run them at better graphics with no other players around, to make it less heavier on the system. But multiplayer games are a whole other story, if you want to socialize, since exploring the VR world alone is interesting, but add other players and it gets a totally different feeling, as other real people are using their headsets to interact, play, and walk around in real time. One of my personal favorite free-to-play multiplayer games is Population 1. This is a VR Battle Royale game with a maximum of 18 players per session, and it is really fun to get this kind of PUBG Fortnite feeling, but instead experience it in first person, while actually interacting with the world and shooting using your arms. And climbing somewhere higher can often become like a workout. This game is also beginner friendly with having simple general controls. Of course, there are other more serious FPS games out there as well, often involving even more complex game mechanics and controls that alone can take a while to learn and get used to. Yet another way to enjoy multiplayer is with your friends, as co-op is also an option, where you can go on an adventure together. And we are really now heading into the most fun part of VR gaming here, as there are also titles like Drunken Bar Fight and Nightclub Simulator that basically let you do whatever you want and just release havoc upon NPCs. You can grab random objects and throw them around, even using them as weapons. You can start shootouts and release your anger in the most inhumane ways possible, but this can be a really good way to just wind down after a hard day at work. I believe most of us have done this type of stuff in GTA single player at some point, so I think there's no controversy there, right? Right? I cannot be the only one.
No, you freak!
But with the multiplayer experience, Meta themselves have worked really hard to make VR as social as possible, especially with Horizon Worlds, which is a free-to-play experience you get with your headset. You get to create and customize your own in-game character, and you can even buy real brand clothes for real-life money. Of course, in-game purchases aren't entirely a new thing, so it makes sense no matter how crazy it sounds. You can then use your avatar to visit different community-created worlds, games and experiences, like even virtual concerts, connect with other people, and even use your created avatar in other supported apps as well. But Horizon Worlds is not really my favorite VR space. The experience is quite cartoonish and funky, making it less serious than something like VR Chat, for example, which has been around since the PCVR days. And VR Chat has cooler maps, features, and ways of interacting with your surroundings. You can have custom animated avatars, many different interactive objects, and it is generally the better place to spend time with people joking around, as the community community there is also more grown-up, and this might be one of the biggest pitfalls in Meta's attempt to create an online world, because Horizon Worlds, as of now, is full of children. Literally every time I load into Horizon Worlds, there is a toddler screaming at me, barely having learned to breathe through their nose while talking, yet he already has a VR headset on. Like, what?
Hey, Dad, where's that on? Oh, baby! Anybody seen Mr. Incredible?
Okay, I get it. This is really fun, and I would probably be hyped to have a device like this if I was a kid as well. But seriously, it's me being 28 being amazed about this tech. Well, for an average 10-year-old, it is a norm to spend a whole day wearing this thing. Like, I can barely spend an hour or more to eventually get motion sickness while playing, and I know that for my girl, as well as my friend playing, it has the same effect. I guess the endurance is based on tolerance, as the more I played, the less prone to dizziness I became, but my stomach would still start to rumble after a while. But these kids, I swear, some of them are born with these headsets on their head, having no motion sickness whatsoever. And most of us know how it is when the little kid comes into an FPS game just to ruin your match. Well, that's only the start, as most of them here just rage in the VR games like crazy, screaming random swear words from top of their lungs, moaning, screeching, and even gasping when running in game. Like, really?
Because I was very anxious. God, Green.
For example, Among Us devs even seem to have addressed this with all their voice chats being recorded and monitored, so you even have to consent to this if you want to use the voice chat at all. And by now, most of us have probably seen a short or a TikTok of people screaming and scaring kids in-game till they cry, so it surely is a double-edged sword. But why aren't these kids monitored by their parents and they just allow them to roam in this cruel VR world in the first place? Not to mention that some of them even provoke others constantly without even realizing that, or just doing it on purpose. Like, seriously, I think parents are just buying these expensive headsets to engage in lazy parenting and keep their kids busy. Why go play outside when you can just climb a tower in game and feel tired barely making a step? Not to mention the overall weight of the headset and how it affects your perception and eyesight at young age. And even despite all the parenting tools, I don't think Meta cares much about it, since they get young blood into their services and this brings revenue either way. So yeah, this is the state of standalone VR gaming on Meta Quest, and it happens in many free-to-play games, but this is not the only way of playing. While this headset is quite capable on its own, it's still an Oculus at heart, so you might just get it as an extension to your PC to play PCVR games, as a well-spec'd PC is far better at handling VR, enabling better graphics, high-resolution textures, and lifelike reflections. In short, it handles all the heavy processing that a mobile processor cannot. For this you will need to use Meta Quest Link, either by using a long USB-C cable, hopefully not the $100 one Meta offers, or you can go fully wireless, as both the Quest 3 and Quest 3S support Wi-Fi 6E with a 6 GHz band for fast speeds and low latency. I've been using my headset wirelessly, and it has been really smooth, with no issues in terms of connection stability or input latency. With Quest Link and SteamVR installed, you can expect everything to work right away, so you can easily play the games in your Steam library. Now, a game like Half-Life Alyx is probably the benchmark of how immersive and scary accurate the PCVR experience can be, as the reflections and objects look very real, giving things a serious lifelike feeling when you can grab and interact with most surrounding objects. Also, some games, like Cyberpunk, even have community-created VR mods to make you experience your favorite games fully in real first-person view. Meta also offers a lot of titles to be installed directly onto your computer from their store, so you can access those from the Quest Link as well when connected. Now, a thing to note, the internal screen recording feature doesn't play well while Quest Link is active, so I won't be able to demonstrate the best example since everything became quite laggy while recording. With Quest Link, you can also access your computer's desktop and use your controller as a mouse. This gave me a curved ultra-wide virtual monitor experience that was quite comparable to my real-life setup. Now, the coolest part is the keyboard pass-through, so you can actually see your keyboard through the VR space, in case you want to type as usual. However, This feature has become quite buggy recently, and the keyboard doesn't always seem to pass through when needed. What's more, you would normally put your controllers away when typing, right? Leaving you with hand input only. But it seems that hand tracking is not fully supported when using Quest Link, while the Steam Link solution has no problems with that at all. This Quest Link issue is also accompanied by a weird bug that actually seems to break hand tracking completely until you restart your headset. Anyhow, besides using Quest Link, Meta Quest headsets now play better with Windows as well. A feature still in preview is native remote desktop support, and this is really useful as you can access your computer remotely. It allows you to do some work in VR before the VR fatigue kicks in, with the ability to even add up to 3 virtual displays. However, I think that a seamless curved ultrawide approach would look better, but this feature is a nice to have nevertheless. So this brings us to the conclusion. Right now, Meta has made decent VR headsets more affordable than ever at the price of a budget smartphone, but choosing either the Quest 3S or Quest 3, you won't go wrong, as you not only get capable hardware, but also access to Meta's developed VR/MR software experience. This ecosystem is evolving fast, adding many useful features and a fast-growing app catalog, all backed up by the power of Android. And this is really important, because you could opt for something like the Vision Pro and spend an insane amount of money to essentially preview a work-in-progress ecosystem. The Vision Pro may have better hardware that provides better immersion and tracking, but this is only part of the story, since you won't be able to do much because of a smaller app catalog and limited ways to use your headset. And this proves that you first need to have a ready ecosystem to be accessed, as the hardware will only be the gateway to it. And this is where Meta has excelled with its reality labs. They were constantly investing in the VR space while facing massive financial losses. Yet, they have achieved a wider ecosystem adoption, bringing more people into VR. While PCVR Gaming might still be a niche thing, standalone VR headsets have turned the tables, as you no longer need an expensive supporting hardware or much of computer knowledge to use it. You just get a headset, power it on, and everything is there. Games are stored locally, and you can easily connect and play with your friends with an interface that even a toddler can operate. But then of course, there is still the meta side of doing things, forcing you to have a Meta account to get into the Metaverse, which probably brings them a lot of telemetry and spatial data to study on. So I also wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we would get something like personalized ads popping up here and there, as there are already a lot of app suggestions in my launcher making me confused, as they are not even installed, just waiting for you to click them. And of course, the constant struggle of countless updates and moving things around, constant changing of UI, and probably breaking things for the sake of experiment. Same as with Facebook and Instagram, so there is always a price to pay. But for now, this really is the best experience you can get, and I think over time, it will get even better. Let me know your favorite game in the comments below, and do you think virtual reality will soon become mainstream and change the way we interact and socialize? I really hope that you enjoyed this video, as it took quite some time to put this whole thing together. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out my channel for other cool tech. And see you in the next video.
Watch and be amazed. Now watch me, you paint out. Now watch me, you paint out. Now watch me, you paint out.
I can't
Watch me,
tell by the
Superman.
skin.
Now watch me, you paint out. Now watch me, you paint out.